Hey guys, today we're going to be talking all about the COROS APEX running GPS watch. I've been running with the APEX 42mm model for about 2.5 months now. I've been using it as my go-to activity tracker for regular runs. I've been wearing it throughout the day and I've run an ultramarathon with it. So I thought now was a good time to summarize my experiences and give you a bit of a review of the COROS APEX Runner's GPS watch. Just before we get started guys, this isn't some sponsored video. They haven't given me a free watch or anything. I bought the COROS APEX with my own money. Just as a bit of context guys, I'm usually not the type of runner who goes out and buys a new GPS watch every season. I'll tend to keep a good one for a couple of years until I feel I need a new one or I see a really good one on the market. I also tend to do quite a lot of research before I buy a GPS watch, so that's what I did with APEX. So let's get into it. So guys, first off, the APEX comes in two sizes, 42mm and 46mm. Guys, I opted for the 42mm because I've got kind of little wrists. But the only real difference between the two sizes is battery life. And talking of battery life, we might as well get into that straight off the bat. There are two big features with the APEX which make it really stand out. The first one is battery life. The battery life is just ridiculous. I'm going to get into battery life a bit more. And the second is the price point. You can probably find the COROS APEX for about half the price of some of the comparable models from other brands. So in terms of finding a watch with this battery life and these features, the APEX is probably 40 to 50% cheaper than most of the other models on the market. So let's take a look at the watch. So inside the box for the APEX, you get another box. Inside the other box, basically you get your instructions, you get the charging cable, you get the watch itself, and you get some little pads to cover the charging port. And that's about it. So let's check out the design of the COROS quickly. What some people are surprised to find is that it's only actually got two buttons. You've got the digital crown here, which both spins and depresses. And then you've got one other button here, and that's it. I actually found this system surprisingly intuitive to get used to. Anybody who's used an Apple Watch will know how easy it is to get used to the digital crown. On the back of the APEX, you've got the charging port here and the wrist-based heart rate sensor. When you get the APEX out of the box, the first thing you have to do is set it up. And the setup process is slightly different to some other watches, as in it's all done through the mobile app. So the first thing you got to do is download the COROS mobile app for either iOS or Android, and then you pair your phone with the watch, and then you're good to go. You can then link your COROS account with, for example, Strava. This means that any runs you log are automatically uploaded to COROS and Strava. One important thing to note is that unlike most traditional GPS watches, you can't actually plug the APEX into your computer or laptop and download your data. It all works through Bluetooth and connected to the mobile app. So guys, I've already mentioned it, but one of the main selling points of the APEX is its battery life. And when we're talking about battery life, there's three different modes to consider. There's regular mode for day-to-day life. There's full GPS mode for your typical runs. Then there's Ultra Max mode, which is a running tracking mode, which has a lower sampling frequency, which means it conserves your battery for longer. So the 42mm model, which I have, works in Ultra Max mode for 80 hours, full GPS mode for 25 hours, or regular mode for 24 days. If you opt for the 46mm model, the Ultra Max mode goes for a full 100 hours, full GPS mode goes for 35 hours, and regular mode goes for 30 days. So guys, in other words, you've got oodles of battery life. In fact, I looked at both 42 and 46mm, and I realized I was never going to be in a situation where I needed that extra 20 hours of Ultra Max battery life mode. I've been road testing the 42mm model, and I would say that the battery stats that they've given here are pretty accurate. On my COROS APEX's first full charge, I took it immediately for a 100-kilometer ultramarathon, and then I spent another 2 weeks doing various training runs, easy runs, hikes, and gym sessions, and it lasted for a full 14 days. I'm really impressed with the battery life. Now I've put it through its paces, I'm really confident in it. I'd very happily take the COROS APEX on any ultra marathon, and I've got a couple of multi-day stage races I want to do in the next year, and I've done the maths, and it looks like the battery life will last for those too. In other words, guys, the battery life is almost a non-issue. It's so good, you don't have to worry about it. And for me, the battery life is so good that the 46mm model is almost redundant. The 42mm one is so good on its own. So guys, let's talk about some of the sensors and the tracking of the COROS APEX. Guys, in terms of GPS accuracy, I've found it to be really accurate. I've been comparing it in both full GPS mode and ultra max mode in terms of how closely it's tracking where I've actually been running. Obviously, at times, like any GPS device, it sometimes tracks, you know, you're running on a trail and it accidentally tracks you 2 meters off the trail consistently. And occasionally it will cut a sharp corner. When I take a sharp corner, it'll smooth that sharp corner out. Overall, the GPS technology and the algorithm seems to function very well. It's super accurate. I'm super happy with it. You've also got the heart rate monitor data, guys. I've found it to be pretty reliable. It looks pretty good. The sample rate's really good. And comparing it to what I know my heart rate zones are and comparing it against the data from an Apple Watch Series 3, I've found this to be much more accurate. It's also got a barometer which tracks your altitude. I've also found this to be very accurate. Basically, guys, I'm not going to do a DC Rainmaker style comparison of all the metrics against a bunch of other devices, but both my research and my own experience for the last 2.5 months tell me that the COROS APEX is just as accurate as the other top-end running GPS watches. When we're talking about the APEX, I think it's important not just to talk about what it's got, but also what it's missing. So a few things the APEX doesn't have. Guys, there are no custom or third-party applications for the COROS APEX. There's no capability for loading up music or audiobooks or podcasts on the watch to listen to as you run. And it doesn't have any contactless payment technology. Neither does it have a virtual race buddy setting, which is becoming more and more popular with some of the other models. But guys, everything I've just mentioned that the APEX is missing are things which I personally consider to kind of be bells and whistles. And they've actually been things that have discouraged me from buying some of the other top of the end running GPS watches, because I sometimes feel like I'm paying for some of these fancy features which I don't really use. And in that way, I respect the COROS APEX in that it does what it does well, and it doesn't try and add in extras. It doesn't try and be some Swiss Army knife of running GPS watches. Instead, it gets the fundamentals right. It's all about running or other activities. It's all about a great battery life. As I mentioned, when you complete an activity with the COROS APEX, it automatically gets uploaded to the APEX app. The output you get from the app is pretty comprehensive. I'll show you here. This is my recent 100-kilometer run. But guys, as I say, I tend to just use the COROS app for syncing the device and automatically throw all my workouts straight to Strava. So guys, to sum up the COROS APEX, I think there are 4 main things I would highlight to anybody thinking about buying this watch. 1 is the battery life, which is ridiculous. 2 is the price point, which is also kind of ridiculous and nice and affordable. 3, it's reliable. This watch has already got a good reputation for being reliable with its data, accurate for tracking your runs. And 4 is the fact that it doesn't have too many bells and whistles. So guys, those are my thoughts on the COROS APEX running GPS watch. I think this watch is pretty good. If you're a medium distance runner, it's a good watch because it covers all the bases and you've got that great battery life. But where it really comes into its own is when you get into long distance stuff. Maybe you're a marathon runner or an ultra runner and you're looking for an infallible solution that just goes all day and you don't have to worry about the battery. Then the COROS APEX is for you. Guys, that's it for this video. If you've enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. You can subscribe to the channel where you'll get to see many more videos like this. And guys, check out marathonhandbook.com. I'll also link below to my article where I've got a bit more information on the COROS APEX. And thanks for watching.